Greetings and welcome to Your Brain on Nerd. If you caught my first video, you might remember me talking a little bit about making a training schedule. And what I was really trying to get at there is that it's very important that you set goals and spend energy on yourself, and that has value. Not only value for you, but also for value for those you take care of, whether it be professionally or personally. One of my goals this year is to read 52 books before the end of the year. I'm way behind, but that's okay. It's more about the journey than it is about the final destination. One of the books that I recently finished was called Running is My Therapy: Relieve Stress and Anxiety, Fight Depression, Ditch Bad Habits, and Live Happier by Scott Douglas. It's a long title. It's a good book. Talks about psychological and scientific reasons that running in particular is advantageous to mental health. The book is very good, and I would recommend it to anyone who is just starting a running program or was interested in how psychology and mental and physical fitness work together. But I didn't believe that anyone would find the book unless they had already believed in some of the core concepts, like myself. Having read the book recently, it led me to this idea for today's video. Why do I run, and what does it do for me? Well, first let me tell you how I came to running in general. I have attention span deficit disorder, and I took Ritalin from the 3rd grade into my senior year of high school, along with regular trips to child psychologists who helped me with behavior modification. Attention span deficit disorder was the major pain in the butt for most of my childhood. I might have a whole video up here on what it's like to have attention span deficit disorder in the 70s. I didn't like the medication though, and I didn't like the way it made me feel, and I really didn't like being singled out. People would point at me whenever I got excited or lippy or emotionally dysregulated, and they'd say, "Did you take your pill?" And they would do this in front of my peers and my siblings, and it really made me feel broken. So when a new friend leading into my senior year, who was a cross-country runner, asked me to give the team a try, I did. And for reasons unknown to me, I didn't need to take the medication as much. I went off the meds and found that running helped me regulate my emotions. So I ran cross country, and then a few years later, after high school, I joined the Army, and I ran in the Army. I was in the Army for 12 years and ran cross country for a year and about 2 years in between. Here's the thing. I hated running. I was bad at it. I was slow. I used to get these terrible side stitches and gasp for breath whenever I would run. And my coaches and NCOs would just tell me to run more or run faster. And it was always at someone else's pace. And my fitness evaluations that we do in the Army, I would max out my push-ups and my sit-ups, but I could barely pass the run. When you really think about that, that makes no sense. As a child, I had 2 speeds, sleeping and running. I loved to run until I got my first bicycle. I ran everywhere, every day. I did not need to train for it. I didn't need to have special shoes for it. I just ran. And most of us probably did. So with all that hate and badness at running, as soon as I got out of the Army, I quit running. I have a whole story about my journey from the Army into poor fitness and my recovery with bariatric surgery and hiking and running. But that's a whole nother video if anyone is even interested in it. But what really happened this time on my running journey is that came to January 1st of 2022, which, by the way, is my wedding anniversary. But on that particular January, I woke up to a phone call from my ex-wife. My daughter, Winter, one of the best souls I've ever known. My hope for the future, and in some ways my purpose on the planet, was killed by a drunk driver. I was in shock. As the months afterward unfolded, that shock was replaced with grief and depression. 8 months went by and I was doing the best that I could. I was talking to my therapist. I was participating kind of in my normal hobbies. I had tons of emotional support and people around who were offering to do whatever they could for me, but they would ask and I wouldn't know what I needed. I could not get out of my own head. And in general, I felt that I had no purpose in this world. I had no emotions. I had a flat affect and I had no future. Then I was staying with a couple of friends for a few months. They happened to be runners. I was staying with them because my wife was transitioning jobs and she was setting up our new house while I was staying at the job that I was at until I could transition. So these people that I was staying at, they were both runners, and I didn't understand why. I mean, he and his wife both loved running, and I made my normal joke, what's chasing you, a tiger? And the only reason to run is if you're being chased. And then I told them that I used to run. I ran a lot. I ran cross country, ran in the Army, but I was bad at it and I disliked it. But I'm a psychologist, So I knew the mental benefits of fitness and getting out and doing some sort of activity. And here was someone going out every day for a run. So after some conversations about how fast they ran or what they did, I went on a couple trial runs with them, and they were using this running app. And between their approach to running, but more importantly, what they were getting from this app, I realized at 54 years of age, I'd been running for over 35 years. And the whole time, I'd been doing it wrong. Ever since my very first coach. Not that the coach was bad, not that my drill sergeants were bad. I just wasn't running in a way that worked for me, a way to enjoy running. The philosophy of this running program was 2 things. If it hurts, you're running too fast. Challenge is good. You should challenge yourself and have stretch goals like I talked about in the other video. But it shouldn't hurt. These should be achievable things. So if you're hurting, you're running too hard. You're doing too much. And the second goal, or second concept of this running philosophy, was that if you don't want to run again after the run, you ran too hard. It wasn't fun. If it wasn't fun, you're doing it too hard. I was like, so basically, it should feel like I did when I was a kid. Run a speed and a distance that's fun. Today that might be 5 steps at a medium kind of pace. Tomorrow it might be 6 steps at a higher pace. This blew my mind. But what really blew my mind was what running started to give me. So I started running with these people. And I started running on my own even when they weren't available to run with me. And for the first time since my daughter had passed away, I had something to look forward to. Just getting through the day became, I'm looking forward to running tonight. Additionally, I could spend 15 minutes at first, a little over an hour now, not thinking about my loss or my grief or my future or my past. For those 15 minutes to an hour, all I could barely think about was putting one foot in front of the other, making sure my breath was flowing easily, making sure that I was physically enjoying the moment, feeling my body without hurting my body. It was mind-boggling. I wasn't thinking about some lost future or some past regrets. So now I make this part of my mental health. I do this in a way that I was not getting from other hobbies or other things. I love to cook, and there's some mental health benefits to that. I love to play D&D, and there's definitely some mental health benefits to that. But when I'm doing those things, my ADD jumps in, and I'm usually doing 2 or 3 other things at the same time. When I'm running, I'm just running. It's all I can do. I don't take a computer with me. I don't take a television with me. It's everything that I can do. So it really helps me focus on now. So from September to December of last year, I ran for my mental health. And then I pulled a muscle, and I couldn't run for the last 6 weeks. And I really realized at that point what the running had done for me, because I started to slip backwards to where I had nothing to look forward to. I'm running again, and I'm really looking forward to days that I can run. I'm still running about every other day, weather permitting. Hopefully sometime in the future I'll be running every day. My max distance is about 4 miles, but I just signed up for one of my stretch goals. I'm going to do a half marathon in late April. Now, when I was in the Army, that was probably a distance that we had run at some point in time, although I don't know. We just ran until they told us to stop. So this is the first time I'm going to do a timed half marathon. I'm really excited about that. I could do some content about that if anyone's interested. That's why I run and what it gives me. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been your Brain on Nerd. Thank you.